Alpine Touch has been a staple of Montana for nearly 8 decades. Folks around the Treasure State have been putting Alpine Touch's world-famous all-purpose seasoning on their steaks and burgers for longer than most of us have been alive. The holidays are coming up. If you want to knock everyone's socks off, be sure to pick up some Alpine Touch Cold Smoke Rub for the best flavor for your Thanksgiving turkey or your Christmas prime rib. Alpine Touch comes in the mail right to your door. Just visit alpinetouch.com. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Town Pump. Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
Big Show Breakdown, SkySportsMT.com. Our road to Frisco coverage continues. Montana State taking on North Dakota State for the 2024 National Championship. And we've been catching up with a bunch of people that helped contribute to the foundation of the entire football program there at Montana State, including our next guest, Dakota Prukop. He's an All-American there at Montana State in 2014 and 2015. He went on to then play at the University of Oregon and has been playing up north for the better part of the last decade there in the Canadian Football League. Prukop, good to hear from you, man. How you doing?
Hey, been a while, but good to be talking with you, man. I know we ran into each other at Cat Grizz, but I'm doing great.
Well, first of all, let's talk about this run that Montana State's been on just in general, because the Cats have been right there, knocking on the door like a perennial top 10 team since before you got there, like when Coach Ash and those guys won 3 straight titles in the early 2010s, and certainly some really high water moments during your career there, but always sort of right on the outside looking in from that truly like elite echelon of the FCS. Now they've sort of crossed that, and they've been in the Final Four the last couple of years, but now they are the number one team, the team to beat. What have you seen just in your observations of the program that has sort of allowed that to happen? What do you think is the biggest difference that's helped them become sort of this titan like they are right now?
Yeah, they're absolutely a powerhouse. I know it's an interesting comparison, but my high school actually, it's a weird year. My high school just won their first ever state championship, and the head coach there was the coach I had and opened the school with. Oregon's on their run to try and get a title, and Montana State, they're right there again. So I got to go buy a lottery ticket or something, because every school I ever played for is right there or winning it,
No doubt.
But of all of them, I'm most proud of Montana State. Seeing what they've done, crossing that threshold of kind of being on the outside in, first couple of rounds of the playoffs, semifinals, to now being the team that, a lot of people would pick, they're going to be in the finals, especially when you throw on the tape and you watch, the caliber of coaching and the caliber of players at that program. You can tell that nationwide, it's a program that's gained so much traction for elite talent. I actually have, in a lot of my off seasons while I was playing the CFL, I was training quarterbacks, and I have quarterbacks kind of littered across the FBS level, in different capacities. And, some of them reached out already like, hey, you think, you could get me a call at Montana State? Could I drop down? And are they going to be looking for anyone? And so it's a school coming to the, forefront of people's minds when they think, where's the best place in the country to go at the FCS level? And it's interesting. I've even, not to get into it, but, seeing all the conference realignments and seeing like what Sac State's trying to do and this and that, it's such a premier place, such a beautiful atmosphere when you think about, the upper echelon of the Big Sky. And it's like, it makes you wonder, with the program having this kind of success, like, is the new pack, whatever they're going to call it, are they going to, come in and try and, scoop them or whatever, because if I'm a, commissioner for one of these conferences or whatever, or I'm trying to, rebuild something, like, and you want to go take a look at, okay, well, what are some of these best schools? Like we've seen it happen with a couple schools, over the last, couple years. I think Incarnate Word did it maybe down there. In Texas, there was some big ones I'm forgetting over towards the East Coast, but I just speak to it on the fact of the state of the Montana State program and the staff and the caliber of talent, and to see it remain such a powerhouse and be so successful through coaching changes, that really speaks to the state of
No
where
doubt.
Montana State's at, right? And the staying power of it, that it's a premier job that, you're getting really good coaches come to, and it's a premier spot for talent.
It's so interesting too to think about where that fits in the present, but also the future of college
Yeah.
football. Because you're so right. So many of the schools that are FCS into FBS, they transitioned and they've had some success at the FCS level, but a lot of times they're moving up because they want to make more people care about it. I think about Sam Houston or Coastal Carolina.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
think like once, oh, we're okay, we're good in the FCS in terms of our fan base, but if we move up, way more people will care. We'll sell way more tickets. Sac State's doing the same thing right now, right? If we're a FBS, now we can compete with Fresno State and UC and Cal and Stanford.
Montana State's different. Yeah, you're
That's
right.
the
They're
thing is
selling
Montana
out
State, they
every
don't have to
game. Yeah.
exactly, right?
No,
Like they
no.
they move up and they already have a premier atmosphere when you talk about Western teams, right? I mean, they're
Yep.
already drawing
Hey,
big.
they're already beating FBS opponents,
That's
So
right. That's right. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges for both the Montana schools is like if you are Nevada or Fresno or Wyoming or even Boise, you don't want to be in the same league as those schools because guess what?
no.
Then you got to go there. And like who
Hmm.
wants to go to Missoula? Who wants to go to Bozeman? You don't.
Not a lot of people want to be on the goal line in the Sunny Holland zone trying to get a playoff or
That's right.
play run off. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. So when it comes to the quarterback element, though, I think this is such an interesting deal too, because there's always been the notion you got to find the quarterback first. You got to have an answer at quarterback first. Montana State actually has as good of a lineage of quarterbacks over the last 20 years as anybody, yourself included. Travis Lulay, Denarius McGee, and now Tommy Mellott carrying that on. And even Troy Anderson got in the mix there at
Yeah,
QB
yeah.
for a minute in time.
Troy's got to be the coolest of all of us, man. Like that's amazing. Like if there's one guy that I'm like, man, that guy's way cooler than me, it's Troy, right? To be
Oh,
able to do that. Coming out of
yeah.
high school, I was a defensive player, right? And I actually finished my career in the CFL this last season as a special teams captain. I worked my way on the special teams just because I love football. So to see Troy do it at a completely different level and be able to play multiple positions, like that's the coolest thing ever. So I gotta highlight that real
Oh, no
quick.
doubt.
In
I mean,
terms
it's
of
funny.
a football player, he's got to be the best football player, right? That's ever
Oh,
been a
there's
quarterback
no
there.
doubt, man. I mean, we've been doing our top 10 lists of uh over the last 10 years of Big Sky Conference players, and we still have one more to do. It's our defensive player list. But I'll give you
Yeah.
the spoiler alert. He's going to be number one. But he was also the number three player on our all-time offensive list
Yeah. Yeah.
because, like, the dude, he could hardly even throw it. It didn't matter. He scored 13 60-yard touchdowns in that season. He scored 22 touchdowns.
Unreal.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was like nothing I've ever seen before. It was like a video.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
he's
Yep.
not the same as anybody else that he's playing
Yep.
against. So
Yeah.
pretty cool. But that's the thing, though, is the Montana State has had answers at quarterback, and they've been looking for answers elsewhere. And now they have the lines figured out, the defense figured
Yeah.
out, and they have the quarterback. I think that's been the thing that's
Yeah.
just helped put them over the top.
Bobcats win again.
So, fifth quarter at the R Bar?
Dude, I could crush a burger right now. Can you guys pick it up? I'm thirsty back here. Guys, what's up? Hop on in. Fifth quarter's this way.
Oh, new R-Bar merch.
Yo, what's the fifth quarter?
They have food, drinks, and giveaways after every home game.
And these sweet Bobcat cups.
Oh, I'm in.
Take me to the R-Bar.
Join us at the Rocking R Bar after every home game for the fifth quarter.
Let's celebrate the spirit of blue and gold.
Yeah, I completely agree with you in terms of like the importance of the quarterback, but I see it a little different to where you can have a good quarterback and a okay team, and you're not gonna be able to see that quarterback flourish,
Right.
right? And that speaks to the program, right? There's lots of places across the country that have good quarterbacks, and you know what? If they could be the quarterback at Montana State, they would be really successful. And so to speak of the state of the program, um, they got it figured out in terms of they have all the pieces that you need to see a quarterback shine. And then when you get a situation where you got a guy like Tommy and who's extremely special and you got all the pieces around him. I mean, that's when the magic happens for like a 15-0 kind of deal, a 16-0 kind of deal. And he's as good as there's ever been. But I don't just want to highlight, the quarterback, because you see the difference between having a good quarterback and having a good team, right? And to also highlight, I think everyone can agree when you got a quarterback like Tommy that's not only like an exceptional, rare, once in a generational kind of player, but you have the guys around him that he's leading. He's got the talent, he's got the skill, and then he's got a great team around him, but he's a leader as well. I mean, you're talking like rare. Like this is, I mean, it's a coach's dream. It's a fan's dream to be able to watch it. I got to go to the Cat Grizz game, and it was my first game to be able to go back and watch. Just we had this last year we missed playoffs, and so it timed up perfectly that I could go to my first Cat Grizz game and really my first sporting event sitting in the stands that I've been to since I think maybe I saw an NFL game in high school or something, but I hadn't been to a sporting event and like watched it from the stands, and I was like, it was weird. It was a really emotional experience for me too to be in the stands and like watch them run out. And I think they were playing Metallica or something. And it was like such a badass environment. But back to like highlighting Tommy as the leader of the team, like it's a unique deal. It's a cool deal to watch as a former player. It makes you proud to be a Bobcat. And I know all the fans can agree with that. So I think we're all witnessing something really, really special, and it's cool to be a part of it in a way.
What what do you think is the skill set that sets Tommy Mellott apart? Because he has every different element that you could possibly want, but what do you think is the thing that puts him over the top?
Yeah, I think, on the base level, everyone, the dual threat ability. Everyone is going to be impressed by that. That's great. That's awesome. But there's a lot of dual threat guys, and there's a lot of guys that I wouldn't say are necessarily like more athletic, but there's guys at the FBS level that are probably just as athletic as him and even bigger than him. But what you're not going to find when you're looking everywhere in terms of a comparison is you're not going to find like a complete package in the sense that the guy, like his mindset, that like that's like you want a guy that, just as a metaphor, that if you're in a bar fight, like he's got your back, and I think just the way he plays, it's a weird situation as a quarterback because you don't want to go down with injury, right? You're no good to your team as like a wounded hero, right? They want you you don't want like a martyr at quarterback that halfway in the season is taking on linebackers with his shoulder and stuff, and so to see well, I'm about to get to the point of his development, but so his mindset really sets him apart. Obviously his dual threat ability is, extremely impressive and fun to watch. But the coolest things that I've seen is just the development, right? Because there was a time when people just like me just want to talk about, oh, he's so athletic, and he's a good thrower of the ball, but he's just really athletic and dynamic. But I think we've all seen the growth. Which is what is supposed to happen naturally in college, right? There's supposed to be growth, and for him to take it to the level he has, to become a premier passer, has just been really cool to watch. And if I'm like if I'm running a professional team, that's something I'm taking note of. Like, oh, this dude's grown. Like, look at how much he's grown from each year. Oh, like he has all the intangibles. He's got the mindset. He's a leader. He can run the ball. He can pass the ball. That he's developed in terms of like, he's figured out a way to stay healthy through a season. When I was watching that Cat Grizz games, there was a lot of times that he avoided hits that I thought that's a hit you want to avoid, Um, so if I'm looking at it, I'm like, this guy has developed like so insanely well, and everyone's got nothing but great things to say. What's to say he can't continue to develop? In the state of like you look at the NFL, like people aren't as trapped on like how tall is the guy anymore. People aren't
That's right.
looking like that. So when you look at some of the guys having success at the NFL level, whether it's like kind of like Baker Mayfield or even Kyler Murray, because he's a smaller athletic guy, like Tommy sizes up with those guys, no problem.
For sure.
right? So I don't think it's crazy to put it out there that like why can't this guy go have look Brock Purdy, like why can't that guy go into the league and have a lot of success? It's just going to take someone taking a chance on him. But yeah, I mean he's the complete package, and I think all he's got to do to like put himself in a whole separate category is go finish the job,
No
which
doubt.
we know he's preparing for.
Well, that's right. And he puts himself into a different echelon beyond just as a player, just as a figure basically in Montana
Yeah,
lore, right? I mean,
yeah,
truly, I know this is like a little bit of a hyperbole, but like he becomes the Dave Dickinson of Montana State if he wins
100%,
this championship. Like,
100%.
if you go
Yeah,
undefeated your senior year, win the Walter Payton Award and win the
yeah.
national championship, man, it's
And the cool thing, a guy like that, he's not thinking about that stuff.
right.
He's
Totally.
not thinking about that stuff. He's thinking about going 1-0 this week, which he's done for the last, 15 weeks. So
Yeah.
that's what he's thinking about. And those are the kind of guys you want, and they're special and they're hard to find. But also he'd be the first to praise, the guys around him. And it's really important. It's really important to highlight, like, he's not going to have the success he's had without these guys around him. But you know what? Those guys aren't going to be as successful and play to the high level that they're all playing to without the belief in that quarterback. Because if you're on a team and there's lack of belief in the quarterback, I mean, guys aren't they're not going to execute as well. They're not going to play as hard because if I'm a just whatever position I play offensive line or defense, for the majority of the team, if you feel like, oh, even if I do my job extremely well, we don't really have a chance to win because I don't believe in my quarterback, you're going to get low play across the board, right? So it all goes hand in hand. It coincides together. But what they got going on is magic right now, and it's really rare. It doesn't happen a lot. I've played a lot of seasons of football now in my life. Shoot, 2 years ago, I played over 30 games in a season when I played the UFL and the CFL in one year, and it's just given me a newfound appreciation for how hard it is to win one football game. To win one game, people don't realize they take it for granted, and fan bases, championship level programs now like Montana State, get upset with a in-season loss here and there, and oh, we're not going to be perfect this season and whatnot. But it's like people don't understand that what goes into like getting one win, and that's what you can't take a win for granted. And so when you got something going on like that's going on at Montana State right now, I mean, sometimes these are like once in a lifetime opportunities.
Are you paying too much in taxes? Elevated Tax and Accounting is a firm that specializes in tax planning and strategy to minimize your tax bill. Elevated Tax consult with you on tax strategy throughout the year, so no more waiting until the end of the year and hoping for the best. As a business owner, you know your sole focus should be spent working on your business, not in it. Outsourcing gives you the time to concentrate on the core reasons you started your company, to create and innovate a top-tier product and generate profits. Elevated Tax and Accounting, elevating you and your business with a modern professional touch. No doubt. I wonder one last question on the quarterback element of this, because Tommy had this breakout his freshman year when
Yeah,
they were just keeping it simple for him. And he'd be the first to admit, like, hey, man, I got lightning in a bottle and I didn't know what the hell was going on, but I was just running fast and making throws. And all of a
yeah,
sudden we were in Frisco.
yeah,
But then they brought in Sean Chambers as sort of an insurance policy. And it worked out for them in such brilliant fashion because both those guys got hurt so much. But I also think it held both those guys back when they were both available because neither one of them could get into a rhythm because they were always like,
yeah,
oh, I'm looking over my shoulder. And so
yeah,
they would both try to do too much. And like you were
yeah,
saying, all of a sudden they both became like wounded warriors who
yep.
can't stay on the field. I wonder just how much Tommy was able to turn the corner this year by knowing that he was the man and that was it. Also knowing that if he got hurt, it was going to tank the entire season, and also just having so many more reps to improve and get better.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I hadn't really thought about that in terms of like the development of understanding the importance to the whole program, right? Because when you get to the point where it's like you're the guy and like you're the guy and that's it, like we don't have an insurance policy, um, it definitely could, and probably did change his mindset a little bit of like, I gotta always do what's best for the team. And you're not feeling like, yeah, I'm looking over the shoulder and I got to, make every play count, and every play needs to try and be the biggest play and a wow play. So that's a really good point. And I guess kudos to the staff for maybe identifying that and you know, putting the guys in a position to make themselves, you know, the most successful. Because at the end of the day, you want coaches that are just bringing out the best version of each player and the best player that that player can be. And maybe that's something they identified, and the route they chose with, like, let's give him the full reins and let's let him know like it's you. And get behind that. And I know as a quarterback, like that's the best feeling in the world. I know that when Cramsey gave me that, that allowed me to flourish, right? And to not feel like, you know, you got to find that fine line of, if you got a guy, you don't want him looking over his shoulder, you know, you don't want him to feel like he's on a leash or anything. But you also want competitive atmosphere where they're pushing for development and stuff like that. So whatever they've done at Montana State, they've done it right, obviously.
From a former quarterback, but also just a Bobcat alum, just watching this run and knowing at the same time how close you guys were, but also how far away you were at the same time,
Yeah.
and just how big the gap was, especially to North Dakota State, and how Montana State has been able to sort of close that. What's your just perspective on that? Playing a hand and sort of laying the foundation for this, but then watching this sort of younger group of guys take this thing by the horns and make this run.
Yeah, I think I can speak for all the former players that it just makes us proud. You know, like these are the guys to do what all these past teams in recent years have been wanting to do, right? And so these are the guys to finally do it. And I mean, I know they've been to the finals and stuff, but like this team is on a caliber that is not equal to other teams. So that's been a real cool experience. I mean, I remember when I was first at Montana State, maybe in 12 or 13, could have been 14. I think it was 12 or 13. Like I think we were slated to play North Dakota State, and for whatever reason, like that game got removed off the schedule and
Right.
replaced with you know, like that's, you know, it's different now. You know, that's not like, you know, if anything, it's teams don't want to play Montana State, you know. So it's, you know, the program's in a great place. And, you know, it starts at the very top with like what Waded has done since she got there, and she had a great tenure. And like I've said, I'll keep saying, like I'm sure all the alumni feel the exact same as I do in terms of like how proud they are to, you know, like wear a Montana State hat. So
What's your take then on this matchup? Because I think that you look at the tail of the tape, very similarly constructed teams,
yeah.
both really good on the lines, explosive skill guys on the outside, veteran quarterbacks. So, what do you think are going to be the defining factors if Montana State's going to go win their first national title in 40 years?
I'm not gonna try and act like I've been, you know, doing film breakdown of
Sure.
both teams and get it, you know, I'm not, you know, I could sit here and try and fake it, but I think what I can speak to is a program that has been there. Like I'll allude it back to like my high school program. I think 2 years ago they were in the state championship in Texas, at the biggest division at 6A, and they got whomped. And I went down and I spoke to my high school team before this last state championship game, and I got to speak with my coach, who I still stay in contact with on a regular basis, and he's like, man, I got to tell you, it's just completely different this time around. Like we've been there, we have guys on the team that have been there, you know, like it's not like your first time there, and it's just completely different. And you know, just from that conversation with him and how he was feeling after I've already been to the show and now being back, I think there's just a different confidence level about it. So what I'll speak to is they obviously got the team to do it. They're going up against a great opponent. Um, but they've been there before. They got guys that, you know that have played in that same stadium. I'm assuming it's the same spot in Frisco, right? Same deal. So they've
Yep.
been there, you know, they've done it. And so now it just comes down to execution. You're taking a huge kind of unknown factor and variables out of it because you got guys that have been there. And so I think that'll be one of the biggest defining differences this time around. Of course, you know, guys got to stay healthy and whatnot, but that alone will allow and translate into higher levels of execution. And I think, you know, like with North Dakota State, with all their, you know, championships they went to. I mean, you see that when a team's been there and done it, it rolls over. It rolls over into whenever they're doing it again and going to play those games. They've been there, they've done that. So I think that'll be a big boost and big benefit to those guys. But they've had a lot of, Montana State's had a lot of good teams in recent history. But again, to what we were saying, like this team is on a different level. So it'll just come down to execution like anything. Yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch.
It's going to be so fun too, because I do think that it's going to come down to which quarterback performs better. I think both these guys are going to be ready to roll. They're going to be
Yeah,
locked in, and I think it's going to be a great duel between Cam Miller and Tommy Mellott. It should be fun. Dakota Prukop joining us here.
absolutely.
Big Sky Breakdown and the Skyline Sports YouTube channel. I know that you may be moving on from the game as a player, so maybe we can do this a little bit more often, man. So it's good seeing
Yeah, I got some time, man. I got some time. We'll get on
you.
and we'll do a little explanation or a hit piece on this new company I'm working for, and
Okay, great.
Montana State's a client for them, and just seeing how they're helping coaches around the nation and stuff like that.
Well, I love it, man. And congratulations on your success and moving on to the next chapter of your life. And thanks so much for taking some time with us here today.
I appreciate you, bud.